he's been filthy. Like, I hope everybody's been paying attention. Like, arguably as nasty as anybody on the planet. So yeah, I expect big things out of him.
ドジャース初戦を制しましたね。大谷選手は打撃は4三振と苦しみましたが、投球は6回3失点でプレーオフ初勝利。佐々木選手は初セーブを記録。先に1勝できたのは大きいですね。本日はこの試合に先駆けてポッドキャスト番組で話されていましたので、そちらの動画をご覧ください。
Shohei Ohtani is going to pitch for the first time in the postseason, and I just want to make sure that we don't miss the moment and how cool it is that somebody's going to pitch in October baseball and still obviously be one of their most valuable bats. So your expectations for Ohtani here, and do you think that they lined him up correctly by putting him in a spot where he can get the day off after the first one?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. Anytime you can get Shohei on the bump, it's like Christmas for me. Like, that is fantastic. He's been filthy. Like, I hope everybody's been paying attention. Like, arguably as nasty as anybody on the planet. So yeah, I expect big things out of him.
And then also I wanted to ask you about Roki Sasaki and how much you've followed his story throughout the year. He was one of maybe 3 that dominated the offseason headlines for us, Rob. And then it was pretty much a nothing burger for the entire year due to ineffectiveness and injury. Did you see this coming? And what are you seeing right now? Isn't this the Roki that we expected? Forget it. Can he do that over 5-6 innings, whatever? But right now, we were all excited about the fastball splitter combination, and here it is.
Literally the guy that we expected. There were a ton of comments. I posted his highlights from his last appearance, and a bunch of Japanese fans were like, this is the Roki Sasaki of the 2 consecutive no-hitter type guy. Like, this was what everybody expected. I noticed a little change in his mechanics. I don't know if any of y'all noticed, but he's got more bend in his back leg now, and I think he is more glute dominant than quad dominant, which helped him with his velo. And I'm sure the Dodgers worked on that while he was struggling and fixed him in the minor leagues. But he looked fantastic. Like, this was the Roki we all expected.
Obviously, see him in a closing role is something new, but it's not the easiest thing. And kind of piggybacking on the whole Shohei thing, are both of these guys set up to, one, because the Dodgers want to make a deep run? Are they set up to recover and be able to give the team all that the team's going to need? Roki in the bullpen, can he bounce back from a intense max effort 9th inning and pitch again in the 9th inning again? Can Shohei bounce back for game 5? Because that's what you want from your game 1 starter.
I have little doubt about Shohei bouncing back. Shohei's been there. You know, he started for forever. He knows what he's doing and is incredibly talented. Roki, I'm a little more skeptical of, or a little more worried, because being a closer in the postseason is a whole different ball game. And, you know, I know his mechanics have been fixed. I know his stuff looks really good, but when you got a hostile crowd yelling at you, all things go to hell. Like, we'll see, but he looks really good. He looks like he's pitching well within himself. So I'm optimistic that he'll be good. His stuff is definitely good enough to play at the end of the game, but whether he can bounce back and deal with hostile crowds and stuff like that, you know, we'll see. Will he turn up his game like Cam Schlittler did last night?
Yeah, that was absolutely ridiculous. There's some names out there that are just getting well known, and for a while now, a guy throwing in the 8th inning, first time ever in the postseason, 12 Ks. Dabble a little bit about him and his performance, of, you know, what you thought and what you saw from him. Like, is there anything you see when he throws that's like above average, or something that, you know, crosses your mind when you're watching a guy like Cam Schlittler throw?
Yeah, the big thing that I saw was he dominated with 3 different variations of his fastball, so you couldn't sit on one. I mean, at his 4-seam fastball, obviously, threw a 2-seamer off that, and then hitters are, you know, getting a little more confused. And then with his cutter, he was able to tunnel them as well as sequence them really well. And 100 miles an hour gets on you real quick anyway. But when you have to determine whether it's one of 3 different variations, that's tough, because I got asked that question: why can't hitters hit him? And that's a big reason. Also, he throws so effortlessly and gets 100 miles an hour. Like, you look at it and the ball just jumps out of his hand. And I think as a hitter, that probably is somewhat deceptive.
As a pitcher throwing 100 miles an hour, you are going for strikeouts. Are we right?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Everybody loves the
Yeah.
strikeouts.
Everybody
He's about
loves
to
them.
face he's about to face a team that does not strike out. Does he
Yeah.
have the repertoire to be able to get that weak contact? I know what you're talking about. His cutter, and I wouldn't even call it a sinker. It was more of a runner. It's running off.
Yep.
So he's playing all that top plane. And the Blue Jays hit balls at the top plane, high velocity, better than any team. That's why they strike out the least. Does he have enough to go off that top rail and go downstairs to get early, quick outs with low exit velocity?
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the cat and mouse game. It's gonna be really interesting how he makes that adjustment because you're right, like, that team does not strike out a lot. Cam showed that he had whiff stuff, but it's a different animal going against the Blue Jays. I did notice he did throw some true sinkers and then some runners. Yeah, I agree with you. Is he gonna throw more of that? Is he gonna rely on his cutter to get some weak contact? Jam some folks? Maybe? Like, I'll be interested to see how they game plan because this is gonna be really interesting.
I want to talk a little about because we were talking about this when you came on here, the ABS system. What are your thoughts on it? And people always explain you. We saw the final strikeout. Well, not the final. The out to Bogarts yesterday. The pitch that was really down low. I would love to hear your thoughts and what you think about it moving forward. Is there more we could do? Do you like the 2 pitch calls? Like, do you think this is the way to go?
I thought your feedback was really good because I could see it going to 3, but I don't want a full automated strike zone. I think it makes the game too mechanical. No one wants to
Mhm.
see it played by robots. I love what it does to catcher skills. Like in the preseason, you had Cal Raleigh I think he got 8 consecutive challenges right. So it creates another skill that a catcher can show off, another skill maybe a hitter can show off or a pitcher show off. So if you look at it like that, we're introducing maybe a different human aspect to the game that I think we can showcase. Like these guys are really good at challenging versus making it all mechanical and then taking all the fun stuff. Like imperfections are sometimes part of the perfections of baseball. So having some of it's good. But I mean, maybe adding a challenge is not a bad idea, but I wouldn't take it further than that. I like what they've done. Plus, it makes betting interesting in your game, like betting a beer on whether you're going to get the challenge right or not. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I would be doing.
Oh, the fan interaction will be off the charts. It's going to be awesome. It's a guarantee. I just want to make sure everyone sees the instant replay of what I personally got 2 seconds ago, 2 feet away from Todd Father. What did you do when you heard him agree with you? Give me
I
the
went
action.
like this, baby. I said, let's go. I said, I punted my fist. I said, somebody finally agrees with me on something. So that means a lot, man. You'll be getting a Christmas card this year. Don't you worry about that. Thank you.
Awesome. I can't wait.
Yes,
Rob, looking ahead, what's the one pitching, maybe not matchup? Yeah, the pitching matchup that you're most intrigued about in this next series?
Well, I mean, number one, I really want to see Shohei on the mound in the postseason because if he takes his game up another notch, it's going to be just so much fun to watch. I also want to see the Mariners pitching staff go because, I think they're putting it together. Watching them take on anybody is a lot of fun. They throw so many different looks at you. That'll be exciting for me. So I mean, I think those are 2 of the big things. How the Brewers use Miz is going to be fun to watch. And I heard y'all talking about Freddie Peralta. I love him in the postseason. I think, he's just electric and, having to beat him twice is tough.
And Quinn Priester never loses. So
That's right.
that's tough to go through. We had Quinn on just the other day, but I want to also talk about the relievers moving forward. You post and show all these incredible, appearances and the things that these guys do, but they have pitched so much. There's guys that have thrown 3 days in a row for the first time in their career, let alone first time this season. How do you feel like that affects the pitching going forward?
Well, I mean, it definitely impacts it, but they do have something this is the postseason. Pour it all out. Let's see what you got. And we'll see who can come back and who can't. I do like seeing, Matt Brash, we haven't seen yet. That's going to be fun to watch. But, whether guys can or not, this is where your reputations are made. Like watching Mason Miller, and granted, he didn't win, but he did pretty well pitching, back to back, right? Like, so guys can either step up or not. And this is part of the beauty of baseball.
All right. What about Mason? What about Mason Miller's pitch? I'm not sure who tweeted it. Was that the
Brett
most
Anderson.
perfect pitch?
It was as good a pitch as I've ever seen. Like, that's the fastest pitch of his career, the fastest pitch ever in the postseason, and it was as dotted as you can dot something. I mean, for all the guys, so you know how much drama we hear out there, like pitchers today are just throwers, blah, blah. You can't throw a pitch better than that. Like, so let's stop with that and let's admire what this guy's doing at that high a level. Like, that was as good a pitch as I have ever seen anybody throw.
There you go. That's Brett Anderson,
Can that be taught? Can that be taught, Rob?
I don't think so. Like, we can control, command can be taught a little bit. So you can know how to control your misses and all that, but to dial something in that well, that's a very hard thing to teach. I talked to Maddox about that. He said, yeah, I can teach people to command a little better, but I can't really teach them to command the ball like I did. Cause it's like, you either can do it or you can't, but you can get better at it.
Hey, Rob, I think one of the themes this year, as teams always look for an edge, was it felt like there's more technology to be able to take down tips, right? For teams to find the slightest thing that alerts them that a certain pitch is coming. Just like super basic casual fan question here, who's not, nearly as knowledgeable on the pitching part of things as you. If we're seeing more and more pitchers, I think, have more variety, does that help to combat that a little bit? Because I feel like, and it's early in the playoffs, but we're seeing certain guys pop up and it's like, this guy's got 5 pitches, he's throwing 10% or more. And I'm like, oh, I feel like we're getting a little more of that again these days versus a 2 or a 3 pitch guy. I mean, how many signs can you give away to somebody and be able to pick off how many pitches you're able to see from a small tip?
That's exactly my theory on it too. I've talked about that before, where a guy like, Paul Skeen's adding now, he has 7 pitches. If you're tipping 1 or 2, it's very hard to tip 7 or to remember the 7 tips that you have to go through. So yeah, if you're relying on fastball, slider, changeup, you can probably figure those out. But if you're throwing 12 different pitch types, it makes it a little bit tougher. So yeah, I think it does combat tipping. I love, this is a real cat and mouse game. Like, we have cameras all over the ballpark. We have AI that can determine if a pitcher does anything different on a fastball versus a slider. But then now pitchers can combat that by, number one, fixing the tip, because, their teammates and their front office will help, but also throwing more different pitches that it makes it impossible to actually pick up a tip in real time. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
Can teams in the postseason get by without guys that are striking out? The biggest thing we talk about is hitters have to hit homers and teams have to strike guys out. Can the teams that are left get by without punching tickets?
It's going to be really hard to do that. Like, that is what the game's about. At least having dominant stuff. Like, you got to throw hard enough to keep hitters off balance. I don't know if you necessarily need strikeouts, but you definitely need to get hitters on a defensive. And that's going to be mostly done from, hard throwing guys. You do have a crafty guys too that can, make their mark. But generally, and this is something I spoke to Chipper about. Chipper said, the reason why John Smoltz was so good in the postseason, he had dominant stuff. And that's what plays in the postseason. Because, whether you play the infield, you have to play the infield in with a guy that pitches a contact. But with a guy that's going to case somebody, maybe it's a little easier to get out of those situations. So, yeah, I like my guys with swing and miss.
And just to finish here, Kratz, I know your question plays into teams having contact versus power, right? So, but I will counter you here and we'll get Rob's thoughts. You have teams like the Blue Jays and the Brewers who are upper echelon power teams, right? And the Brewers have won and scored in a variety of ways, like almost as unique as we've seen it these days because they're playing an older school brand of baseball. Do you think that plays, or does power elite strikeout stuff overcome all of that? Like, do you think these teams are the two serious threats, or do we look at teams that have more pop like the Yankees and the Dodgers?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question because I think sometimes good pitch, if you're swinging just for the fences all the time, you're also more apt to, be taken advantage of by some guys with swing and miss stuff. Putting a ball in play in the postseason is important. And that's why, getting somebody to not let them put the ball in play is important on the other side. But if you're playing small ball, that could make the difference. Like, you're testing a team's fundamentals. You see some fundamentals break down sometimes on defense. And I do think it's a different game in the postseason. Every pitch matters a lot, and hitters, have to do a job instead of swinging for the fences a lot of times.
大谷選手は5戦目までに回復はしてくると思いますが、中継ぎ経験がほとんどない佐々木選手はどれくらいパフォーマンスを出し続けれるかポイントになってきそうですね。明日も続きますので要注目です。本日もご視聴ありがとうございました。チャンネル登録、高評価よろしくお願いいたします。